Women are treacherous and often manipulative when it comes to men. In fact, women value their image above being honest. And this is a culture created by men who are willing to accept anything a woman tells them or does. Men do this simply through the fear of never meeting another woman again. However, self-respect and moral boundaries might sound old school, but you'll be rather surprised at how attractive they are. You see, women are so used to getting their way that they get bored with men. But if a man can stand his ground or stand up for himself, it is unique. And women might not like it, but they will respect you. In this video, we look at 12 things a woman might tell you that should raise enough red flags for you to walk away. But first, let's find out why men never actually walk away. Weak men never walk away. One of the biggest problems in modern society is that many men are actually helping women to become more selfish. You see, women are used to dealing with things the right way, and if she doesn't do this, the man walks away, often finding a brand new woman instead. However, the tables have turned, and through the advent of social media, men now have absolutely no ground to stand on, and they find it much harder to walk away from women. You see, it can take ages for a man to move on and find a new girl. On the contrary, a woman simply needs to post a half-naked photo of herself on Instagram and she'll be flooded with messages. No matter how good you look as a man, there's absolutely no way to compete. Since men fear this, they often forgive every transgression a woman commits, and this becomes a habit. Eventually, they realize they can do whatever they want, and they'll not face any real repercussions for their actions. This is simply because most men fear walking away and they're too scared of losing her. As cute as Hollywood makes these couples who forgive each other too much look, it's simply not realistic. And it often makes a woman feel like she has the power to do whatever she wants and there's nothing that a man will do. This lack of self-respect has completely shifted the power of the relationships to women. One of the most important things you can do is to have your self-respect. Yes, this means that when a woman does something you don't like or you don't feel she should do, you should call her out. If you have a conversation and the behavior still doesn't change, there's absolutely no shame in packing up your stuff and leaving. But most women talk in riddles, and this means that guys are unsure when they should leave. Today, we look at 12 very important things you need to take note of. If she says any of these things, it might be time for you to consider your options and perhaps leave. Number 1, she's a social media influencer. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a couple of great social media influencers, especially those who are actively trying to do good in this world. However, this becomes an uphill battle for every man quite early on. You see, these women are highly popular, and it means they get a lot of attention through their adventures. If she's some kind of model, you'll constantly see people drop these comments that might trigger some of your insecurities. In fact, it's something that'll almost certainly happen at some point or another. Whilst it might seem great that your girlfriend's popular on social media, it does eventually take a massive toll on the relationship. In fact, there's nothing wrong with a woman who does choose this path, but unfortunately, very few men can actually handle the stress that comes with it. Unless you have nerves of steel and you rarely get jealous, our advice would be to avoid these women, unless you're also some kind of celebrity or famous influencer yourself. Number 2, she doesn't need a man. One of the biggest lies women tell is when they try to convince you they don't need a man. You see, women's empowerment is constantly rising, and more women want to be independent to break free from having men do all the hard lifting for them in life. It might seem great on the surface that you've met an independent woman, but this will clash with your natural instinct and responsibility quite early on in the relationship. In fact, these women often make men seem weaker than they are due to their higher masculine personalities. Despite a woman telling you she doesn't need a man, the fact of the matter is that there are certain responsibilities only a man can carry, and these are very important to keep in mind when seeking your true life partner. Much like men need women, women also need men to carry the burdens in the relationship and to ensure that logical thinking is prevalent. If you allow a woman to lead you, you're likely to find out that everything is far more emotional. Unfortunately, these emotions can be overwhelming at some point, and you don't want your relationship based on this. Number 3, insane loyalty to her friends. Whenever she has male or female friends, the relationship between them should be normal and natural. In fact, you don't want to date a woman who has friends that will know virtually everything about what's going on. Yes, women do talk with one another, but if she chooses her friends consistently over you, it's one of the biggest red flags you'll ever see. Now, this doesn't mean having friends is wrong, as every person needs to have a few good friends, but it should be normal, casual relationships. You might even hear many women tell you that their friends are more important to them than any relationship, and this can be extremely tedious to deal with. She'll constantly want to go out and spend time with these friends. However, once they all marry and get into relationships, she quickly finds herself all alone. Whilst you can endure this, it's a frustration you don't need to carry. If she considers her friends more important than the relationship, you might simply want to walk away and allow them to be more important. Number 4, she's constantly criticizing you. Another ugly thing that's slowly rearing its head is when women are constantly criticizing their partners. The reason this happens is because most men are unwilling to stand up for themselves, and they'll simply take the beating she's given out. Once you allow a woman to start doing this, you quickly realize just how much ammunition she can get. When things in the relationship are peachy, she won't say anything. But when you do something she doesn't like, she'll be more likely to pile on the heat and continually criticize you simply for living. Not only does it take a toll on a man's self-confidence, but it'll gradually become worse and worse. The woman who tends to criticize can be one of your biggest mistakes and can cause you years of heartache as well. Number 5, she talks about her ex. One of the big problems in modern society is how both men and women simply cannot seem to let go of their exes. With social media making the world smaller, it's much easier to keep in touch and see what's going on in their lives. This often kills a relationship when one person continues checking out their ex. However, women tend to vocalize this much more, and you'll often hear her complain about what her ex has done and all the things that she might like or hate about him. What this means is that she's still a long way from being over him, and she's still hoping they'll get back together. Unless you're happy with being the rebound guy that she only dates as a distraction, this should be your cue to walk away. If you don't have the balls to walk away, you'll constantly be compared with her ex, and since she can only see the fake life he posts on social media now, you'll have absolutely no way of living up to those incredibly lofty standards. Number 6, she tells you to change. This one ties in with the previous things we just mentioned. You see, every person has the right to live life by their own rules and to have their own standards. Despite not having all the best traits in the world, a woman needs to accept this. If something is truly bothering her about what you do, it can be a discussion to find some middle ground. However, when she gives you an ultimatum to change, it's best to choose the first route out of the relationship. If you do not change to her will, she'll likely cause you continual frustration. However, if you do change to her will, she will realize just how weak you are, and this will give her even more ammunition to criticize. A relationship should be when two people wholly accept one another despite having flaws that could be rather detrimental. Number 7, she's not ready for a relationship. Let's face it, not everyone's always ready for a relationship, and it often takes a lot of time for two people to find themselves and figure out what they want. However, when a woman tells you she's not ready for a relationship, but you should not leave, you are heading straight into the friend zone. No one wants to end up in the friend zone, and it can be rather frustrating to wait until she's ready. In fact, a woman is always ready for the right person, and this simply means that she doesn't truly like you, but doesn't want to be alone. Number 8, she talks about money and how much you make. Income is a very important part of a successful relationship. At some point during the dating phase, you will need to discuss this. You don't want to enter a relationship that'll leave you in a far weaker financial position. However, some women dare to tell men how much they need to earn for them to be in a relationship. If she begins to focus on your salary and tells you how much you need to earn or that you're not earning enough, simply tell her that's fine and move on. Even though money is and always will be important for a good relationship, it should not be the number one thing a relationship hinges on. Yes, it's great to have money, but it's even better if she's the rock supporting you on your journey to achieve success. You should be self-motivated and not rely on this, but it will make a huge difference. Number 9, she's had too many exes. This one is rather controversial and might give me a lot of hate, but it's something you need to accept, and it is a reality. You see, we all have exes, and this is something that no one can change or do anything about. However, women tend to sleep with their exes, and the more partners she's had, the more pressure will be on you to perform. Not only will you need to perform at a high level in bed, but she's also somewhat desensitized and will not be enjoying it as much. Women should try to keep their exes or partners they sleep with to a minimum, especially if they want to have pure energy when entering a brand new relationship. Despite everything you've been told about how she's over her exes and you're now the new guy she likes, you're still being compared. If you can deal with the fact that you'll be constantly compared to those who came before you, you can do it. But it eventually takes a toll on you and the relationship. Number 10, she flirts in public. Women might tell you how they have a natural personality when they flirt with different men. In fact, this is something they often tell you at the start of a relationship to remind you that she has the power to get other men. However, when a woman's willing to flirt with other men in public, it will always open the door for things like jealousy and insecurity to creep in. Regardless of how stoic you are, you're going to get tired of this, and your behavior will naturally make you seem weak. These women are always seeking the next man who can keep things fun and interesting, and the moment you become boring, everything will slowly begin to collapse around you. You need a woman who can be quite respectful of the relationship and someone who will understand that there are boundaries. If she naturally rejects men in public when you're dating, this is even better. Unless you have far more power to attract women than she has to attract men, you'll always be at some kind of disadvantage. The only way to overcome this disadvantage is to ensure that the partner you choose is respectful and someone who truly cares about you and the relationship. Number 11, she doesn't treat others with respect. This might vary from man to man, but one of the relationship killers is when a woman doesn't treat other people in public with a lot of respect. You see, the world revolves around giving and earning respect from those around you, but some women believe they can treat others how they feel. You need to realize that if she's willing to treat others like this, you will also be associated with this kind of behavior. In fact, she might even make enemies you never intended to have. Regardless of who the person is, they all need to be treated with respect. If she cannot respect other random people, how will she ever respect you for who you are? Yes, she might respect your status, but there is absolutely no point in dating a woman who only respects your status. It might seem like we're telling you to find a unicorn, but good women do exist once you sift through the majority of vultures. Number 12, she doesn't trust you. Finally, the big one is trust. You see, any relationship, be it a friendship or a relationship, needs to be built on some form of trust. If there's no trust present, the relationship cannot move forward, and you'll notice that things tend to fizzle out sooner rather than later. A woman who doesn't trust you will circle your every action like a hawk. But not only does this become an issue, but you'll need to have an explanation for almost everything you do, which naturally becomes tedious and leads to many fights. If you've done something to break her trust, she should leave. This is the same as when she does something to break your trust. Regardless of how you try to convince her or yourself, it takes a lot of time to rebuild trust. Finding the perfect woman is hard, especially as you age and your desires change. You want as little drama as possible, and you want to make sure that everyone understands and respects you. But when you found the right woman, you need to know how to get her. Make sure to check out this next video to make sure you get the girl you want.